Master Wayne, did you make it in time?
I did, Alfred. I told him I was sorry, that I didn't mean... He got on the jet anyway.
Well, far be it from me to disturb you in the throes of melancholy, sir, but I believe there is a message waiting for you on your answering machine.
Bruce, hi. It's me. I just got back on the jet, and I feel awful. That is so not how I wanted to end things with us. It's just that I wasn't expecting to see you. All of a sudden you're there and saying these things, and now I'm just sitting here and thinking of all the stuff I should have said and I didn't. I mean, I didn't even get to tell you that I'm your super friend too. Because of course I am. We're the world's finest. What am I doing? I've got to see you. I've got to get off this jet.
Oh my God.
Excuse me?
Clark, please, sit down.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but I need to get off this jet, okay? I need to tell someone that I appreciate them as an ally.
I can't fly this thing with you moving around.
Let him off the jet.
Damn it, Diana, you don't understand.
Try to understand.
Great Row, let me...
No! Oh my God, did he get off the jet? Did he get off the jet?
I got off the jet.
You got off the jet.
I respect you as a friend and as a partner.
As do I. And I'm never letting you go again.
Because this is where I want to be, okay? No more messing around. I don't want to mess this up again.
Me neither, okay? We're done being stupid.
Okay. You and me, alright? This is it.
Unless we're on a break. Get it? Because you broke.
I got it, Bruce.
And welcome back to Box Office Pulp, Part 2 of our Batman vs. Superman coverage.
Spoilers, everything's still terrible.
Everything is terrible, no one happy. Surprise.
No one happy. Thank you, Bizarro Cody.
Martha shot in the face. Slow motion. Pearls fall. We cut to MB explaining differences between the comic world and the DC comic universe.
I like that intro.
As do I. Can that be the real intro?
If you're editing, man, you can do what you want. You're a miracle worker.
I can Frankenstein this if I'd like.
Do it. Use your skills.
Are you gentlemen ready to re-enter the world of DC Universe?
Let's do this.
Put it inside me.
Starro, no.
Alright, so there's not a lot of stuff that happened between the last point that I'm speaking of and this next point, so we're just going to cut straight to the scene everyone talked about.
The parademons?
The first nightmare sequence that Bruce Wayne experiences
Nailed it.
has several... Yep, you did. The first nightmare sequence that Bruce Wayne experiences has several visual DC references running through it. The first and most obvious being the Omega symbol embedded into a major city, signifying the use of Darkseid in future films. The creatures that attack Batman are the parademons, alien legions of Darkseid's army that his servant Darkseid typically unleashes on a populace of a planet while he searches for the anti-life equation. The machine gun that Batman brandishes has an image of a Joker card painted on the side of it, and is an exact duplicate of the image of the original Joker's trick playing card, as seen in his 1940 introduction. In Batman's look itself, with disheveled goggles and worn-out trench coat, is a potential reference to the graphic novel Superman Red Son, in which Batman is also portrayed as an insurgent against a corrupt Superman and his army of followers. Finally, this sequence ends with the appearance, quote-unquote, of the Flash, who's wearing a costume similar to his appearance in the short-lived 90s action figure line, Total Justice.
So you thought that too. I'm so glad I'm not alone.
I really hope that's what the Justice League movie is called.
Total Justice.
Justice League, Total Justice, Dawn of Total Justice, and Rise of Total Justice.
God, I was hoping you were saying Dawn of Total Justice.
Total Justice. Batman v. everybody.
Everything's always a dawn. Everything's a dawn. Dawn of Cyborg.
I'm just in pain. Oh! Before we get to the Flash here for a second, I want to talk about what a dick this Darkseid is, just burning the Omega symbol into the ground. He already has his big, fire things floating through the earth and into the sky. But he has to brand, I imagined, like, every 100 yards, like, just has an Omega symbol in it. So you know who owns this fucking planet now.
Still mine. Still mine. Still mine.
You think he's just floating in, like, a chair or something, just looking down like, yeah, it's mine.
He has
Too
the
close to Thanos.
He has the
They wanted
Skeletor
to...
throne from...
And he prays.
Hey, Darkseid had the throne first.
True, but I don't know if fans would put up with two giant floating space thrones.
I just want to imagine that he has the Skeletor throne from the Masters of the Universe 1980 movie, where he just floats up behind camera in his sneaky dark side.
Hey, feel the fuel fury of my Omega beams.
Hello, Kryptonian. I bring you oblivion from behind.
Oh,
I like cash Darkseid.
He's wearing khakis.
I mean, quite frankly, Darkseid is usually wearing khakis.
But, instead of blue, like, just brown khaki cargo pants, maybe.
Okay, let's make something perfectly clear. Darkseid wears a skirt. We're not going to call him khakis.
Tunic.
He wears a skirt.
Yeah, that's true. Well, in the cartoons, he wears short shorts.
Yeah, those are totally go-go pants.
He does wear go-go pants and boots. He wears go-go boots as well. Darkseid's kind of a weird character.
I like how Jack Kirby just designed this dude as like, he's wearing booty shorts. And he's a rock guy for some reason.
Booty, 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 everywhere, Darkseid.
Well, I mean, it's like Darkseid's dressed like that, and his, like, number 2 dude is Darkseid. Like, Darkseid isn't just some kinky shit.
And Darkseid is just going around in like a jumpsuit.
She got like an old beefy woman who he also hangs out with, and then
Granny Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, Granny Goodness. And then there's just a dude named Steppenwolf.
Like, hanging out in the corner.
Like, the more I think about it, fucking Apocalypse is a weird goddamn place.
Oh, and not only that, but think about the female Furies. One of them is named Lashina. Lashina, who has a whip. That's her power, is that she has a whip.
No wonder Barbara got the fuck out of there. God damn. Anyway, us uncovering the Cenobites are from Apocalypse aside.
During the nightmare sequence also, Batman utilizes a pistol and begins openly killing members of Superman's army. Despite this being incredibly out of character for most interpretations of Batman past 1940, when the Comics Code Authority issued a ban on Batman's use of handguns and lethalities, Batman originally utilized handguns in his 1939 stories, though, notably, while he did kill, he never used a gun against a mortal man. He reserved them for use against the supernatural, such as the vampire called the Monk.
Or if you're just a giant, then it's fine. He's not a normal person.
Batman will take down a motherfucking giant, like a big dude, like Shaq.
Then wrap a noose around them and drag them over the countryside, showing their body off to terrify people below.
With the bat plane, which is just insanely...
What was Batman getting across in those old comics? Just flying around with just dead bodies swaying in the wind behind
To people listening at home, this is actually from a 1939 comic. Batman fights a giant and then murders him with a noose attached to the bat plane, and then he flies away with the giant strangled beneath the plane. That's a real thing that happened in the comics.
Look it up.
Specifically, this was Hugo Strange's Monster Men,
Yes.
which were just mutated dudes who were illegally experimented on. Guys who were probably innocent and didn't know what they were doing, brainwashed, and Batman hung them to death.
And what was the message Batman was detailing to the people of Gotham City? Hey, do not be fucking brainwashed by anybody against your will, because I will fucking murder you straight up.
Doesn't he say something like, poor giant, as he's murdering him?
Yes.
Yep. I think he says something more akin to like, oh, well, he's probably better off anyway.
I think you're right.
These stories, I should say, have been largely considered out of canon for over 75 years, and even Grant Morrison who famously made pre-crisis Batman stories canonized once again in 2008, following Batman R.I.P., did not bring that stuff up. That is the stuff he left out.
I have the panel in front of me right now. The giant tries to break the ever-tightening rope, and you see the giant struggling to get the rope to stop murdering him. Next panel. A few moments later, Batman's flying away in the Batcopter with a hung dead giant below him. There's a full moon, and Batman saying, "He's probably better off this way."
I'm right.
He's probably better off. Batman's not sure. He just thinks there's a chance he's better off.
Is there like a shot of him just shrugging?
There might as well be. You don't see Batman in the plane. But it's very obvious how dead this guy is and how Batman's just okay with this.
I like how that really doesn't even make sense. Like, he's probably better off being dragged behind me as a trophy.
Well, Batman is insane, so.
Especially in the early 30s, late 30s, it was kind of his thing.
So what we're saying is this is just Bob Kane, Bill Finger, late 30s Batman.
Okay, so the nature of the Flash is
just roll over that one.
I can't even.
I like how we just keep coming up with theories to explain evil Batman.
Pretty much.
It's Keaton. He just lifted a lot of fucking weights.
The nature of the Flash's appearance in the movie is based on various storylines involving time travel and alternate realities. While no concrete answer has ever been given as to what the scene in question is supposed to mean, meaning I don't think it actually had a point, the Flash had a history of interdimensional tampering as established in the early 90s by writer Mark Waid, particularly in the Wally West-centric Terminal Velocity storyline, in which he accidentally discovers the ability to travel back in time. West was able to breach the time stream by going too fast and reaching a velocity past the speed of light, which in turn brought his attention to the existence of the Speed Force. And while Barry Allen in the comics was never really shown to have an aptitude for any similar sort of power, in the Jeff Johns storyline, The Flash Rebirth, he does become an avatar of the Speed Force to battle Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash. In turn, rather infamously, Thawne exploits Barry's breach to reset the timeline to that of the Flashpoint universe, where it should be noted that an apocalyptic war between Wonder Woman and Aquaman threatened to tear apart the world. Batman was a key player in the events, and the world-ending battle for survival was never won, instead leading to the creation of the New 52 universe whenever Barry attempted to restore everything. What I'm saying is, that was Barry Allen attempting to get Batman's attention in the wrong universe.
Whoops, I fucked up, bye!
Oh shit, I thought you were Keaton. It's also a direct reference to Crisis on Infinite Earths, isn't it?
Yeah. It's...
Except this, if only this Flash then turned into dust.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was kind of the first instance that Flash ever broke, like, a dimensional barrier, because, you know, a lot of that stuff was explored later on in the 90s. Like, Crisis on Infinite Earths was late 80s. Early 90s was when Wade really got to sink his teeth into the Flash mythology with Wally West. So he started doing things like messing with the time stream, the Speed Force, and all that stuff. But Crisis on Infinite Earths was Barry Allen breaching through the time stream. And actually, in the continuity, he went to the future, and that's why he was able to return without being resurrected or anything like that.
Then eventually ended up in the Marvel Universe.
God, if only.
Canon.
Would it be amazing to see this version of Flash from the movie just burst into, like, Civil War or something like that? Lois! You have to save Lois Lane!
Why is it so bright?
Except for they actually make an effort to save Lois Lane. Like, I don't know who this is, but we should look into this.
Yeah, we save people. Oh, thank God.
Can I stay here with you?
I don't want to go back. Look how bright red my costume is. It belongs here.
Why am I wearing a giant mech suit? Nothing makes sense.
Help me. Help me,
Batman's
Hawkeye.
hand reaches through the interdimensional hole, grabs his neck, and slowly drags the life out of him before tossing the corpse back into the Murderverse.
The Murderverse.
I can't take credit for that. That was from an IO9 review of Batman vs. Superman. But I agree with it.
We wouldn't have known.
I know, but that's why I had to say it. My shame would have got to me. It would have been like the telltale heart.
The telltale heart.
Except it would have been Superman's heart beating when he's coughing.
He's under the floorboards. Quick, help me kill him.
You know what's funny? We never actually checked to make sure he was dead first.
We don't know anything about Kryptonians, but we're assuming he's dead.
This ties in really good with my next note, which is the following scene shows Bruce Wayne detailing his reasoning behind stealing the kryptonite shipment from Lex Luthor, with his intense hatred of Superman being brought to the forefront for the very first time. In the comics, this is in stark contrast to how events actually play out, and virtually every interpretation from pre-crisis, post-crisis, and New 52 continuities explain that it is Superman himself that gives Batman his piece of kryptonite in a show of good faith and trust, that he'll be the only one to willingly use it against Superman should his mind be controlled or tampered with in any way, making him a potential worldwide threat. This has actually been given proper context with various villains, such as Poison Ivy, Starro the Conqueror. It's weird to say out loud, okay. I wasn't prepared for that. And specifically, Maxwell Lord in the lead-up to Infinite Crisis, being able to find ways to manipulate Superman's mind and exploit his powers. However, Batman has always utilized his access to kryptonite with extreme caution, though conflictingly has also been shown to begin stockpiling various types of it in secret.
Because he's a dick.
Specifically in JLA Classified and the end of the Superman-Batman Kryptonite story arc, showing signs of extreme paranoia towards Superman and other Kryptonians such as Supergirl. These actions largely originate from the Tower of Babel storyline written by Mark Waid for the JLA title in the 90s, which reveals Batman as a secret conspirator against the individual members of the Justice League whenever his dossier of countermeasures are stolen and used by Ra's al Ghul.
Hey, MB.
Yep.
Who's killing the Justice League?
Me!
Hey, folks at home, you want to see a weird movie? Rent Justice League Doom. Watch it right... Pause this. Fuck this show. Pause it. Watch
Hey.
Justice League Doom. Then come back to the show. I just wanted them to be on the
Yay.
same page. Then come back to the show and listen to us talk about comic books with the knowledge that you just witnessed John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, scream on fire for 45 minutes.
And Wonder Woman viciously attacks civilians because she believes she is seeing multiple cheetahs attack her at the same time.
I will forever love that that's Batman's view of Wonder Woman's greatest weakness, a world full of cheetahs.
This does remind me, I'm sure I've told you guys in the past, I want to just make a compilation of all the times the Martian Manhunter has been destroyed in the Justice League cartoon series. Just a mega cut of like every time they're like, he's a big hero, he's really powerful. We have to stop him immediately before the episode ends so we can drag this fight out for 20 minutes. Quick! Mind shit happens to him when he falls down screaming.
It's my favorite moments from the New Frontier animated movie. Because it's funnier in the movie because it's such a glory animation shot of Martian Manhunter walking across the beach with all the dinosaurs from the center rising out of the sea and marching towards him. It looks like he's going to take them all on. It's like one of the most beautifully animated scenes I've ever seen. And then he immediately just drops to his knees in mental pain. Oh! And then someone dies trying to save him.
Whoops.
Because that's Martian Manhunter's thing.
He's basically the Worf of the Justice League.
He is. He's wonderful.
He's even like that on the Supergirl series, actually. It's kind of
really?
amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah, John Jones is perfectly represented on that show. It's amazing. But going back to the movie. The movie's reasoning for the conflict between Batman and Superman is by and large invented specifically for the movie.
Batman saw Man of Steel.
yeah, pretty much. It has no real contextual bearing on their relationship in the comics, even at points before their relationship is actually established. The closest that they've come to a genuine rivalry is in two Elseworlds continuities, Kingdom Come and The Dark Knight Returns. But rather than show them as actual rivals, both versions resort to portraying Bruce and Clark as extremes of their normal selves, with Kingdom Come portraying Batman as a mortally wounded and broken elderly man whose identity is public, and Superman is a man whose faith in humanity is temporarily broken by the actions of Magog, a supervillain whose lethal means the public favors over the actual justice system. The Dark Knight Returns, by contrast, portrays Batman as a once-retired vigilante who has broken down after years of watching Gotham City decay as a result of the violent actions of the mutant gang, and is forced to put on the cowl again to establish order, while Superman is portrayed as an instrument of the United States government for the sole purpose of being utilized to prevent nuclear war. In Kingdom Come, their clash is merely ideological and trepid, with the two never coming to blows, and Superman being the one to remind Batman of the sanctity of life. In The Dark Knight Returns, a fight is briefly shown, but only as a cover in a larger plan on Batman's part to dissuade government interference in his actions and to remind Clark that he has the power to take back control of his own life. It should be noted...
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say two things about this. One, it's really weird to me that Zack Snyder chose to take a bunch from Dark Knight Returns, but he didn't understand that it's a deconstruction of Superman. And even in that deconstruction, Superman still has some Superman qualities that they just didn't bother to bring into this movie. And two, goddamn, is Kingdom Come just an absolutely beautiful emotional story. Like, I think my favorite moment in comics history is when Shazam essentially detonates the nuke and decides to sacrifice himself for all of humanity. It's like the number one moment in comics for me.
Oh, Kingdom Come is my favorite superhero story of all time, and I do not say that lightly. I've maintained for years that that book, if you want to see the absolute best of what comics can do and what the superhero genre can do, Kingdom Come is amazing. But it should be noted, however, that there is one version from a comic in which Batman's intense hatred of Superman from the movie directly parallels the version seen in Superman Red Son.
Was KG Beast in that comic?
Yeah, unfortunately not, but...
It would have made perfect sense.
It would have. Batman is portrayed in that story as the martyr of an anarchist movement opposed to Superman's communist regime, which is largely portrayed as villainous and morally compromised until the very end. Batman does legitimately fight Superman in the story, but it bears mentioning that he also commits several extreme acts of wanton violence and cruelty, such as blowing up a major Capitol building in Soviet Russia and kidnapping Wonder Woman. He even goes as far as to commit suicide to spare himself of being mind-wiped by Superman swallowing a bomb before the fight and detonating it once Superman has gained the upper hand. This version uses red energy-radiated heat lamps to weaken Superman enough to temporarily allow the fight, though at no point does he come close to actually winning. This version is the closest to the movie's version.
Out of curiosity, if Batman had somehow actually started winning that fight, would he have just, pooped out the bomb? Was that his plan? Or is he just going to be like, well, shit, I won?
I think he would have just surprised Alfred later. Alfred, come look at this!
I'm taking you down with me. In Soviet Russia, we share explosives.
Now, the next big sequence is of Batman tracking the kryptonite directly to Lex Luthor and coming into first contact with Superman. During this sequence, Batman uses an automatic rifle for an entirely different purpose than to use it as a gun. Imagery from The Dark Knight Returns, where it was grappled. In this movie, it's used to deploy a tracking device. But before Batman can murder anyone else, and you can tell that's where I cut out a lot of rants and, insane, this is stupid.
I do love Batman dragging a car behind him throughout the entire sequence. A, just to make it more actiony for some reason, with just sparks in the background, and B, just to make sure those people are fucking dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dragging them wasn't enough. He had to toss them at another vehicle. These guys better be dead. I'm going to make sure somebody is paced.
Also in that scene, the Batmobile indirectly causes the death of someone else where he accidentally, the car accidentally drives into a tanker and explodes. Batman drives through a building, then drives through the wall of that building, slices off the top half of KG Beast's truck, which there were 3 people in that truck before the Batmobile collided with it. There were 2 people afterwards, so do the math.
Fucking extreme!
Isn't there a close-up shot of that one guy, pretty much they don't show his face getting taken off, but unless he were faster than the Flash, he was going to have his face taken off?
It's actually Flash's origin.
Be surprised.
The new Batman villain, No Face.
Before Batman can murder anyone else, the film depicts Superman intervening and putting an end to the chase, clearly showing the first live-action, on-screen meeting between Batman and Superman. In the comics, traditionally, Superman holds no ill will towards Batman for his violent actions, but will intervene whenever Bruce is seemingly going too far. The closest Superman has ever come to actively achieving this and trying to stop Batman from committing acts of vigilantism is in the 1980s comic book Man of Steel, retelling Superman's origin for the post-crisis continuity under writer and artist John Byrne. In that comic, Batman is relatively early on in his career and seen by police as an outlaw, prompting Superman to attempt to arrest him as any other ordinary criminal. Only through Batman's empty threat of a bomb, which he had secretly planted on himself as opposed to placing innocent people in jeopardy, did he successfully dissuade Superman from bringing him in. This began their alliance in the post-crisis continuity, with Superman deciding that Batman is a good man worthy of his trust if he's willing to take his own life before taking the life of another human being in order to fight for justice. See, like, there are so many stories where this sort of thing happens in the comics over and over again. Superman comes in, Batman realizes the error of his ways, they shake hands, fly towards camera, boom, bada boom. The movie ends with Superman dead and Batman saying he failed him in life.
Because of Martha.
Martha!
Why'd you say that name?
That's his mother's name.
One thing I guess is good. It's good a time as any to bring this up. We're giving this movie a lot of shit because it doesn't live up to the comics, and obviously you can't judge the movie just by that, because it could be a good film that just ignores the comics. That's not the case here.
Right.
This movie happens to disrespect the comics, be shitty, and even if the comics didn't exist, it would still be a shit film. So I just want to throw that out. It's fun to compare, for me, the differences between source material that we grew up loving and what they did with the film. And we give it a lot of shit for that, but I would give it a lot of shit anyways, even if these comics did not exist to compare back to.
Oh yeah, this is just us having like fun with comic book history and shit. Divorce it completely from anything. Divorce it from, accuracy or philosophical issues. Nuts and bolts movie. It's terrible. Like, it's not a good movie. It's off the rails. That's the 10 minutes. It has no structure to it. It's poorly edited. It's a pretty movie. That's about it.
Boring to watch.
Boring. It's not like...
It's too long. It's going to be longer when they come out with the extended cut, which I'm hoping for a miracle, and somehow making it longer makes it feel shorter.
And it doesn't even give its actors, really good material to work with. Henry Cavill is completely wasted in this movie.
Just a bunch of characters with no arcs.
Amy Adams, holy crap, Amy Adams is wasted in this movie. And Lawrence Fishburne and Jesse Eisenberg,
And Jimmy.
Poor Jimmy.
He's really wasted.
In the face.
Immediately.
Jimmy was the finest actor of us all. Acting like he was a man when he was actually a giant turtle.
Why, Scoot? Why?
Scoot.
Scoot.
You just like saying Scoot, don't you?
Well, who doesn't? That's a fun name.
It is. I wish my name was Scoot. Cody, you seem like a Scoot.
Thank you. Maybe I'll use that. I'm your new host, Scoot.
Got Scoot out.
We're gonna see if James actually listens to the mini bops. We'll just call me Scoot from now on. See if he understands the reference. I listened to that episode.
Also, I think considering we're in a part 2, I think mini bop went out the window a while ago.
That's true. This is a fat bop.
Fat bop.
I'm putting that in the description.
God. Alright. Next sequence has Senator Finch asking Superman to come stand before Congress to atone for his actions in the desert, and for the destruction of the metropolis at the end of Man of Steel. The closest connections to Superman that I could find having to appear before a Senate to explain his position on anything comes from 2 primary sources. One is from Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, where he addresses the United Nations and announces that he will rid the world of all nuclear deterrence. And the other is Kingdom Come, where he and Wonder Woman periodically visit a committee to answer for independently building a metahuman prison in the middle of the country and governing them. In both instances, Superman eventually reverses his position and learns the error of his ways, choosing to give power over to the people rather than enforce his actions on mankind. I just wanted to bring in Superman for the quest for peace, because Nuclear Man.
Motherfucking Nuclear Man.
You have no idea how much I would have been won over by this movie. Of instead of Doomsday at the end, just have Lex point to the pod, and all of a sudden a dude in yellow and black spandex just come bursting out with Gene Hackman's voice.
The balls that this movie would have if Nuclear Man fucking walked out.
Just imagine if it was any other villain besides Doomsday. Like Bizarro for some reason is there. Michael Shannon surprises everyone.
Oh, that was like the first thing I said after coming out of the movie, and people were like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Which scared me, because I was like, oh god, I didn't have to think of that.
What have you done?
What have you done?
I have found him.
At last. Could you imagine a giant like Michael Shannon, though? Like, they keep him Doomsday's size.
He gets bigger the more they punch him for some reason.
That would be awesome. I would love it. They already made, like, Zod's corpse really fucking beefy. Like, I don't think Michael Shannon has built, like, a brick shit house as much as, like, that corpse was. Like, you know what, I like them, you know, giving a little bit of extra to Michael Shannon, but, like, let's be real. That motherfucker was like a lumberjack.
From what I read, he didn't actually film anything for the movie. They had his face, and they basically had a bodybuilder kind of thing step in to be the body, and they just took a picture of his face and CGI'd it over the body.
And it shows, because I'm sorry, Michael Shannon is just not that goddamn big.
Which is weird, because Michael Shannon also did interviews where he talked about, like, being on set and having flippers for hands, so apparently he just really enjoyed screwing with people.
I think that's been clear for a while.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys want to learn something really fun about Lex Luthor from the comics?
Yeah.
Cancer.
Oh.
Close. In the comics, Lex Luthor is frequently shown to have no true loyalties to anyone, including Mercy Graves, which would theoretically tie into his willingness to kill her in the bombing of Congress. In one particular act of cruelty that is canonized in both the pre-crisis and post-crisis continuities, Lex actually builds his own world of Lexor, a paradise in which he is able to marry and even father a child. It's interesting to note that this is where Alexander Luthor Jr. first appears, which many have incorrectly argued that this version of Lex is based on. The story actually ends with Lex growing considerably mad and eventually annihilating the world of Lexor when it doesn't fully conform to his ideologies, even killing his wife and infant son in the process. This is something that Lex wholly blames on Superman in an effort not to go completely mad from guilt, suppressing the memory and even taking steps to erase Lexor's existence. The Alexander Luthor Jr. that many take this version of Lex to be based on is actually an invention of Infinite Crisis and is the son of the Earth 3 version of Luthor rather than any canonical main Earth version of Lex. Alexander Luthor is murdered by the Joker, an act overseen by Earth 1 Lex as retribution for his son's nearly cataclysmic and reality-altering crimes.
I know I said this earlier, or last part. God, comic books are fucking stupid. I love them dearly, but...
I just like how there are multiple versions of Alexander Luthor Jr.
Because
Crisis on Infinite Juniors. Arnold Schwarzenegger's there with Danny DeVito. No, I keep getting twins and juniors fucked up. I don't know why I keep doing that.
You've done that a lot. It's very strange.
Every time I mention that movie, I always have it backwards with twins. I don't know why. It's like some sort of weird medical condition.
It'd be amazing if we followed this episode up with a retrospective of twins, but you just kept talking about Junior.
I honestly would. I wouldn't even intend to. I would watch the wrong movie. I would come in and say the wrong things.
Nothing we could ever do in this entire podcast history would make me as happy as if that happened.
It's too bad April 1st already passed us by, because, God, that would be an amazing concept for an episode.
For my April 1st joke, I wanted to get together with James and produce a new podcast called Listopia and actually make it. And the episode would have been just us for 40 minutes making a list of our favorite lists. Like, he would have had his top 10 lists, and I would have had my top 10 lists, and we would have alternated listing our lists.
Oh, can you do that next year?
If you forget, yes.
You have no idea how badly I want this to happen.
Like, I thought of it a couple days before April 1st. I'm like, there's no time. But I really want to do it.
Oh, that would have been glorious. Oh, you tease us, Cody.
I would do that as a legit episode just for fun.
I
would do that as
legit.
I would do that as a real podcast, just Listopia. I've joked about it before, but I actually want to do it. This has nothing to do with Batman, though, so we should get back to Batman.
I would put it on iTunes and everything. I just want to state.
I should do it.
Going back to how comics are stupid, though, that's a scene entering the wreckage of General Zod's ship and what will later become the origin of this movie's version of Doomsday through a cloning process. The use of weaponized alien technology by Lex dates all the way back to his frequent uses of kryptonite, but his uses for it have actually resulted in the creation of a couple of different supervillains, particularly Metallo, who was rebuilt from the remains of John Corbin in both the Superman animated series and Jeff Johns' Superman Secret Origin storyline. In terms of supervillain creation through use of Kryptonian cells, Luthor also orders the creation of Superman clone in John Byrne's Man of Steel miniseries, Bizarro, due to the original misunderstanding on Luthor's part that Superman was a metahuman rather than an alien. And finally, the clone of Superman, known as Kon-El, aka Superboy, is created through a similar process that the film's Doomsday is. He's born of a combination of Kryptonian cells artificially mixed with Lex's own. This Doomsday has the same origin as Superboy.
I mean...
Is he gonna punch reality at some point and fuck everything up?
Yes.
Oh,
Didn't he already?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really say this is not Connor.
It's true. I mean, can you imagine, like, in the next film, Doomsday is revealed to be alive and, like, he puts on a black t-shirt over, like, his hulking muscles?
No. They go with 90s Superboy.
Like, he has gelled hair?
Yes.
And, like, sunglasses and
But he still looks exactly like Doomsday.
has the spikes and everything.
And is gigantic.
Do you think we're gonna get Energy Bolt Superman when he comes back?
God,
Oh
if we
my
could get
God,
Superman red and blue, that'd be amazing.
Justice League 2, this time more extreme, do.
I want George Miller to direct that movie so bad, where it's just a Man of Steel sequel where he's dealing with the crisis of being Superman red and being Superman blue.
And how does he rectify being two completely different Supermen who are both equally Superman?
And made of electricity.
That'd be the bigger issue, I think. I would not be able to get into a shower.
Well, does Superman need a shower?
I'm assuming Superman still produces oils and gets dirty.
Does he, though? I mean, couldn't he just fly up to the sun and...
Or fly really fast, like so fast all the dirt just is sucked off of him?
Exactly, he could just spin around.
I mean, all he has to do is take one trip through the Pacific Ocean and fly out, and he's fine.
MB, is it canon that Superman shaves by bouncing his heat vision off of mirrors?
I mean, that was in Superman the Animated Series, but I'm going to consider it canon because nobody's ever said it's not.
I believe him shaving like that has been in a comic once, too.
I think someone actually did take it from the series and said, I'm just going to repeat this scene.
Because it's true.
This is the hard-hitting journalism we're known for.
Exactly.
How does Superman shave?
I love this movie podcast, don't you?
Sensible chuckle.
Creation of the kryptonite spear on Batman's part is only really paralleled with its weaponization as a ring, which Bruce keeps in a lead-lined compartment of his utility belt. He's only used the ring a select few times, and probably most famously in the storyline Batman Hush, where Poison Ivy attempts to kill Batman with a mind-controlled Superman. Batman utilizes the ring not to kill Superman, but to keep him distracted long enough to enact Batman's real plan of faking a danger scenario for Lois Lane so that Clark would be able to break through the mind control of his own. On the rare occasion, Batman has also used faint kryptonite particles to coat a suit of armor in the battle against other Kryptonians, such as General Zod and Jax-Ur. That's right, there's been a fight with Batman and Jax-Ur. In the dark...
I don't know what to say to that.
All right, why not?
Can we go back to the ring for a second, though? Just because I want to pose a scenario to you. Has it ever happened where Batman and Green Lantern have been walking through the Watchtower, going opposite directions, like around a hallway or something, they run into each other? They both hit the ground. And Hal accidentally puts on the kryptonite ring, and Batman accidentally, stuffs in the Green Lantern ring in his thing, and they go walking, and then Hal's fighting like a demon or something fucked up. He goes to use the power ring. Turns out he has cancer, dies.
Come and knock on our door. We've been waiting for you.
And then
I mean-
Batman's a god.
I mean, I want to just say Hal Jordan never technically appeared in the Timverse. I'm just going to say that's canon.
That would explain why that would explain it.
I mean, can you just imagine that being the backstory for, like, Batman Beyond or something like Terry accesses the JLA archives and, oh, Hal Jordan, what happened here? Oh, God!
Wacky shenanigans gone too far! He throws coffee in Terry's face for some reason. Runs off. Oh. I like our version of Batman.
I have to save Scoot. Cross off the rings.
I like how the big takeaway from all this is Scoot.
Anything to not talk about the movie. Go on.
The next scene features Bruce opening the encrypted files found on Lex's metahuman hard drive, leading to his discovery that Diana Prince is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was created in the early 1940s by William Martin Marston, and was in pre-crisis continuity shown to be a World War II combatant against the Nazi Party. Diana herself is retconned, however, out of being the World War II era Wonder Woman in post-crisis continuity because that Wonder Woman was her mother, Hippolyta, who briefly worked with the Justice Society of America to combat the Third Reich in a brief encounter with Man's World before settling into her role as Queen of the Amazons. Diana herself has never been shown to have been alive during the period of World War I, even historically as it predates her creation. However, she's often been alluded to as ageless, both in and out of continuity, leading credence to the idea of her immortality being plausible. The Wayne family history is largely accurate to how it's portrayed in the movie, but goes much deeper. Now, this was something I already alluded to you guys before we actually started recording the first part of this, but I'm going to go over this in more detail because it's amazing. As explained in Grant Morrison's initial run on Batman and Robin, one of Bruce Wayne's early 1800s ancestors was an occultist who worshipped the demon Barbatos. This was later proved to be the immortal villain Simon Hurt, the orchestrator of the events in Batman R.I.P. and Batman Must Die, the story in which Bruce Wayne actually returns as Batman after his supposed death in Final Crisis. I just went cross-eyed.
Fucking comic books.
Morrison also went into detail about how Bruce's ancestors were pilgrims, leading to the idea of them being hunters being somewhat plausible, though it's never been explicitly stated in the comics where the Wayne family fortune actually originated, and a brief account of it has been muddled by varying conflictions in continuity. The closest attribution of the family's wealth goes as far back as the 1640s to a Scotsman named Nathaniel Wayne, a merchant and witch hunter in the Gotham colony.
The most evil man who's ever lived, I'm assuming, with that name, because it's that name.
There's no actual information beyond this given, but it all is explained in the one-shot storyline, Batman, the Scottish Connection.
Is it honestly called that?
Yep.
You see, this is what we were saying at the beginning of the first part about kind of adults coming in to try to quote-unquote grow up these superheroes. Listen to what MB just fucking said. There is no way to. It's no. Nathaniel Wayne, witch hunter, the Scottish this is all stupid.
Like, one of Batman's earliest ancestors was an immortal devil worshipper who worshipped the demon Barbatos and later became Simon Hurt, the orchestrator of Batman R.I.P.
And I'm sure it's about to be revealed that the Joker is actually Nathaniel Wayne.
It's very possible.
Are we going to put a pool together for that to see who DC reveals the Joker as?
I still think he's going to be Jefe Peso.
You know, I respect that.
I'm going with Joe Chill, because I'm sure there's a reason why that's completely wrong, but I'm going to stick with it because it's stupid enough to possibly happen.
I'm going to go with Dick Grayson, and here's why.
Bold choice.
Nobody has ever once fucking declared Dick Grayson, A, is not evil, B, can't time travel. This is all possible.
I mean, technically speaking, though, you're saying that about a lot of characters. I mean, Jim Gordon has never been said not to be evil and capable of time travel.
Jim Gordon. How fucking dare you, sir? Jim Gordon is the greatest man who's ever lived.
Well, it could be Alfred, like in Neil Gaiman's story, which would be really confusing, because I'm pretty sure those two have appeared together time to time. Or Thomas Wayne, from the grave.
Martha Wayne.
From the grave.
I mean, that's actually was in Flashpoint. Like, Martha was the Joker in that universe.
You know, I guess you're right, MB. Going off that logic, anybody could be the Joker. And I really think that's the subtextual thing we should take away from this. Is
They're gonna blow our minds. It turns out the Joker is actually Batman, and Batman is the Joker.
I could see
All
that.
it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man to lunacy.
So why can't you see the funny side, Cody?
Should probably get.
I have no answer for that. None.
Goddamn Scoot. Go on.
No,
Should probably get through the rest of this as quickly as possible, but
Leave Scoot alone.
Batman next appears inexplicably just wearing an armor suit similar to the design he wore in The Dark Knight Returns. Notable difference in aesthetic aside, however, the main difference in the film's version of the armor is that it shows visible signs of wear and tear, long before the battle begins with Superman, suggesting that he built it for an entirely different purpose.
Bane.
Yeah, pretty
Prove
much.
me wrong. Also, while it does look like the armor from The Dark Knight Returns, let's be real here. Live-action Lego Batman.
Which is a real movie that's actually coming out.
I'm excited.
And is more Batman than this, but Lego Batman appeared in live-action Batman v Superman and Dawn of Justice. Try to say Ben Affleck's Batman would not write a song.
About darkness and parents, or the lack thereof.
Exactly.
While Batman has a long and extensive history of building specialty armor suits, not limited to the Thrasher Bat armor used against the Court of Owls, the Hellbat armor used for a siege on Apocalypse, and the armored fireproof suit from the New Adventures of Batman episode Torch Song that he used to fight against Firefly, the extensive mech suit that he wears at the end of Kingdom Come, Batman's second most notable use of a specialized armor in the comics actually comes from a DC and Dark Horse crossover, Batman Predator, from the early 1990s.
Deep cuts here on Box Office Poll.
Oh, baby.
Dawn of Justice armor suit actually bears almost just as many similarities to that suit as it does to the one seen in Dark Knight Returns, though it's clear that this suit is more heavily influenced by the former rather than the latter. But I'm going to put it out there because it's important.
Well, the things that you said, like, it already has wear and tear on it. Where in the movie did it declare that Batman hadn't fought a Predator?
Exactly.
Honestly, I just assumed he had fought Man-Bat and needed the armor for that. He already had the Man-Bat vision.
Listen, while that makes more sense than the Predator, I want to see Batman fight the Predator.
Here's the thing. Who's to say that the alien, the Predator, and all forms of moving monsters do not exist in this universe? Because clearly it's a horrible place to live. I mean, you have Superman being feared, Batman murdering people.
It's true. Like, this is actually where the new Universal Monster Universe takes place.
Oh god, Tom Cruise and
I was just about to
female
say.
mummy.
Tom Cruise and the Fee Mummy.
The Fee Mummy.
Save us, Scoot.
Save
And
us
I'll
from the
look
undead,
down
Scoot.
and whisper, "It's Sandy." No. Honestly, if there was a monster and a whole bunch of sand, I'd be like, "Nah, you guys got yourself into that. I'm gonna stay here where my toes don't get caked in mud."
You have a unique approach to monster hunting, Cody.
They gotta be in my territory. I don't go into theirs.
What is Cody's territory?
Midwest. A lot of pine trees.
There's not a lot of monsters in the Midwest.
We've got the Hodeg.
Hey, they have the Jersey Devil, kinda.
Is
It's
that
not really Midwest.
No. We got Bigfoot.
You do have Bigfoot, but Bigfoot not that threatening.
Well, there have been murderous big feet.
There's anything to take away from this episode of Box Office Pulp, the podcast filled with movies, madness, and moxie, where we
We can
do
distill
film
it down.
analysis, is that there's been murderous big feet.
And I can add back to evil big feet in movies. I mean, they're not all Harry and the Hendersons.
No, that Bigfoot was pretty fucking evil, if you ask me.
Oh, that one was a sweetheart. He
Who
probably
was
only
holding
murdered
that
2
family
kids.
hostage?
It was kind of a Beauty and the Beast Stockholm thing.
Yep. I had to take down everybody's childhood here, but, it's a lie.
I mean, I agree with all of us.
But back to Batman. Superman.
Fighting evil big feet, that's why he needs the giant armor.
Lex's motivations for hating Superman are explained in this film as a basic resentment for his godlike power, believing him to be a fraud who does not believe in the benefit of others when it truly counts. But in the comics, it goes way farther and much deeper than that. In pre-Crisis continuity, the start of Lex's hatred towards Superman begins when the two are much younger, back to Clark Kent's days as Superboy. Superboy accidentally causes a fire in the young Lex's laboratory while attempting to apprehend him for a crime, which results in Luthor losing his hair. In post-Crisis continuity, several attempts are made to explain his obsession, from feeling resentment towards Superman for replacing him in Metropolis's eye as a savior, to merely seeing him as the ultimate obstacle against his criminal empire. But the arguably best explanation comes from Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo's miniseries Lex Luthor Man of Steel, which goes into Lex's deep-seated paranoia about a Superman left unchecked by a world too willing to accept him as a hero. Lex sees Superman as both a threat to mankind and the potential of mankind's achievements, believing that Superman's mere existence will halt the evolution of human civilization by giving them a hero to rely on. While most accounts paint Lex as a spiteful man who simply wants to be seen as a superior, this is perhaps the most genuine account of Luthor's fears, suggesting that Superman's existence is actually quite disturbing to Luthor on a deeply rooted level. Batman's speech to Superman about the world only making sense when you force it to is lifted directly from their fight in The Dark Knight Returns, but only in parts. In the movie, it's written to be way more vitriolic in nature, with Batman questioning both Superman's meaning and morality to illustrate that he doesn't believe in those concepts anymore. The speech as it is in the comics is a lot different, where it's meant to emphasize that Superman has given up his moral conduct in favor of patriotism, and that the murder of Batman's own parents taught him about the inherent difference between good and evil. As it's said in the movie. Hold on.
I bet your parents taught you that you mean something. That you're here for a reason. My parents taught me a different lesson. Dying in the gutter for no reason at all. They taught me that the world only makes sense if you force it to.
It is said, however, in the comic.
Wait, do you have a special cup for every different Batman impression you have to do? Like, is there a Bane cup and a DKR Batman cup?
Yes.
Okay. Are they all lined up, like, in a moment's notice if you have to do one voice or the other?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Would you want it any other way?
No, Scoot approves.
Scoot approves.
As it's said in the comic, however.
You sold us out, Clark. You gave them the power that should have been ours. Just like your parents taught you to. My parents taught me a different lesson. Lying on the street, shaking in deep shock, dying for no reason at all. They show me that the world only makes sense when you force it to.
Within context, the latter is a direct story point and drives home the narrative of the piece. The former is simply used to illustrate Batman's hatred of another man.
And then Batman swings Superman around in the funniest scene I've ever seen.
Like a yo-yo.
Once again, once that comes out on Blu-ray, like, I just want to take that scene and add the Benny Hill theme.
And just have it go on forever. Anyway, go on.
Alright, well, I suppose there's
just
no point.
Rip it off, tear the Band-Aid off, do it.
There's no point in holding off on it for any longer. Martha Wayne and Martha Kent, sharing the same verse name, has never, and will never, be important. There's no in-continuity-based evidence to support this because it isn't needed. And because Martha Kent's original name in the comics was actually Mary Kent, this is rendered even less important, and certainly to many degrees less than the movie leads you to believe. This has never mattered.
Also, it's a really shambly plot point in the movie.
And a really over-the-top scene.
You mean where Batman has to remember what his mother's name is?
Why did you say that name?
And then a 20-minute montage takes place to make sure you know that
Maggie Green died. And the comedian watched.
I hope that for every Zack Snyder movie, the opening sequence is Morgan being killed.
It seems to be a running theme, actually.
That would be hilarious.
I didn't even think of that.
Now I want a special edition of 300.
I wonder who he'd be in that.
Random sheep herder.
Yeah. Just CGI him into Dawn of the Dead, just being eaten by a zombie during the opening credit sequence.
The very
Can they
first part.
Can they supercut him into Man of Steel, where he's just playing a member of the Kryptonian Council, and he's the dude that Zod vaporizes?
Yes.
Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Batman's kill count is scaled even higher in the subsequent where he attempts to save Martha Kent. Using the Batwing, he utilizes an automatic machine gun to mow down 3 enemy vehicles occupied by Knyzev's men. Not to mention, Anatoly Knyzev's death is reminiscent of a scene in The Dark Knight Returns, but is completely contradictory in the result of the same scene in the comic. The line, "I believe you," is practically the only similarity, as in the movie, Batman ruptures the tank on his flamethrower and causes it to explode, killing him to save Martha Kent. In the comic, Batman simply uses another villain's gun to shoot through an unspecified portion of the body of a member of the mutant gang in order to save a small boy, likely the shoulder or the arm, though it's shown to be in the hand in the animated adaptation. At no point in the comic does it ever state or show evidence to support the claim that he murdered the mutant gang member, while the movie's version is an explicit murder.
I want to talk about this for a second. Alright, so Zack Snyder, I mean, a lot of people have said that Batman kills in Dark Knight Returns, but Zack Snyder has specifically called this out 1,000 times.
Yeah, but he also says, Batman shoots the guy between the eyes. Which,
yeah, he says Batman shoots him in the face. And other people on sets who are also comic book geeks said that Batman should shoot him in the face like he did in the comic. Batman doesn't shoot anybody in the face. It's not actually shown. Batman doesn't kill anybody in The Dark Knight Returns. It is said specifically throughout that story, Batman does not kill. He reiterates this fact constantly. The entire Joker storyline, where Batman decides he is finally going to kill to stop the Joker. He cannot do it because Batman doesn't kill. And then Joker kills himself to frame Batman, and that's when he's hunted as a murderer. Because that scene is him going one step too far.
Also, I mean, one, it was hilarious to see a bad guy holding someone hostage with a flamethrower. But two, why would you even pick that up? Why would you be like, yep, this is the way I want to do this? But the thing that bothers me is Batman saves Martha, and then immediately they go into jokes.
Yeah, it was really off.
I'm afraid of your sons.
Well, it reminds me, of when Superman and Lois are floating down and sharing a romantic comedy scene among the corpses of the people of Metropolis.
Well, that's not even the part that gets me about that scene. What gets me about that scene is Batman ruptures the tank and explodes. What if he hadn't been able to coat Martha in his flameproof cape? What if he had tripped or something and Martha was engulfed in flames? It's like, oh God, what have I done?
Martha would have died that night.
I also just feel like they could have gone back to DKR, and there's a scene where Batman saves Robin from falling to her death. And it basically just grabs her and he does the good soldier, panic Batman thing. Obviously, he wouldn't be calling Martha soldier, but if he did something along those lines, it would have felt more in step with him going, "Why did you say that name? Martha!" This should have been a big deal to Bruce to save a Martha, because it's a stand-in for his mom that he couldn't save. Instead of being like, "Chuck, I wear a cape, aren't I, wacky?"
Pretty much.
But that's just a personal opinion.
A lot of ideas thrown out there, not really dealt with.
Okay, we are about to get to one of my favorite things in all time. 90s villain origins.
Fuck yeah.
Doomsday, in the comics, differs greatly from that of the movie. Born in the depths of prehistoric Kandor, Krypton's colonial city, he was artificially created by the scientist Bertron. Doomsday, originally known as the Ultimate, was released as an infant directly after his creation onto the planet's volatile surface. The child was killed, and its remains were cloned to create a stronger version. The process was repeated over and over for decades as a form of accelerated natural evolution, and the agony of the repeated deaths was recorded into his genes, driving the creature to be capable of nothing more than a hatred of all life. As it evolved, the child became strong enough to withstand the highest temperatures of the sun and the deep pressures of the atmosphere of space. It eventually became so strong that, in its final form, it broke 3 of its captors, hunted them each down, and went on a mindless galaxy-spanning killing spree, murdering several creatures, including the alien Green Lantern Karen Pell. Eventually, he arrived on the isolated planet Calitron, and ravaged that world for 3 years. He was eventually contained by the planet's royal guard with a huge blast of energy that laid waste to a fifth of the planet itself. Drifting through space, he eventually crash-landed on the planet Earth with the impact so powerful that it drove his unconscious form deep underground. 90s.
God, Doomsday is fucking stupid.
He is. In fact, he was created with the direct intention to kill Superman within the story, though that is the extent of the creative process behind the scenes whenever he was first drawn by writer and artist Dan Jurgens, who wanted to create a villain genuinely more powerful than Superman on a merely physical level rather than through technological means or sheer brilliance. The actual depiction of the monster's behavior in the movie is thusly typical of his comic book incarnation. Doomsday is also always mindless beast who exists solely to fight other heroes. However, his visual appearance differs greatly, with signs of his once humanoid features still showing beneath a mass of spike-like skeletal obstructions, stark white hair, and red eyes. He also wears a shredded containment suit, giving his appearance in the comics a more varied and dynamic visual look to that of the movie. Doomsday's powers, however, are virtually identical to that of the movie, and there's a primary focus on strength and durability through energy absorption. While the ability duplication is also revealed as a power of the monsters during the Reign of Superman storyline, where he develops the ability to fly and create a steel barrier of armor around himself while fighting Steel, aka John Henry Irons.
Wait. You know what? I'm not even going to address it.
Nah, just let it roll.
90s, man.
Sure.
90s.
Fucking Doomsday fought Steel. Whatever.
Yep. The effect of a nuclear missile on Superman is lifted directly from The Dark Knight Returns, with the visual of a skeletal Superman going as far as mirroring Frank Miller's artwork from a scene in the book where Superman is caught in the detonation of one. Like in the film, the comic illustrates Superman regaining his strength with the help of solar radiation. The Death of Superman storyline depicts Doomsday defeating every hero from the Justice League International in a matter of minutes, including Guy Gardner, Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Bloodwind, and Fire and Ice. Wonder Woman was dead at the time, having been murdered by the demon Neuron.
Dead at the time.
leaving only Superman and JLI member Maxima to stand a chance against him.
Maxima.
His battle with Superman lasted for several issues, engulfing Metropolis in untold amounts of carnage, before Superman eventually sacrificed himself to finally kill it in a powerful finishing blow. I just want to say, the only reason Wonder Woman did not take this guy down was she was dead, having been murdered by the demon Neuron.
And that's just inconvenient for everyone. You know how that is.
These are for grown-ups, guys. Neuron. That sounds offensive somehow.
I'm sure it is, on some level. We're getting into my final 3 notes, which is thankful because I've been going on for a while. Clark Kent proposing to Lois Lane had transpired just before the Death of Superman storyline, with Lois accepting after coming to terms with learning his true identity. They hadn't gotten married at the time that he was killed by Doomsday, whereas in the film, the engagement ring is presented to Lois post-mortem. Like in the film, Lois wears the ring even after Superman's death, signifying her commitment. Lex's hair is shaved off in the prison for the movie, whereas the comics have presented a variety of interpretations for why he goes bald. There's an origin story for why Superman goes bald.
Lex Luthor goes bald. Though if Superman was bald, that'd be fascinating.
Correction, Ed.
God. As explained earlier, his hair is burnt off in an accident involving Superboy in pre-Crisis continuity. In post-Crisis, however, it is explained through several different origins. Firstly, through a natural receding hairline in John Byrne's Man of Steel, then as a rapid result of aging and deterioration after Lex Luthor cloned himself in the 1990s.
Oh, God.
The most modern explanation for it, however, was given in Mark Waid's Superman Birthright, where he reimagines the pre-crisis story as Lex's attempt to communicate with extraterrestrial forms of life, establishing contact with Krypton through an interdimensional portal. The portal ruptured, burning away most of Lex's lab, his home, and most of his hair, as well as damaging his memory, leading him to forget meeting Clark Kent while staying in Smallville for a brief time. In New 52 continuity, Lex is shown as bald from his very first appearance with no origin really given. And
People can just be bald. It's okay. It happens.
It's true. I don't know why we have to explain why a man is bald. People go bald at like 18 sometimes.
people like willingly choose to just have that as a look, regardless of the state of their hair. I've never really understood that. Finally, shot of Superman's casket near the closing of the film shows a silver Superman insignia over a black background as a visual nod to Superman's post-resurrection costume. During the return of Superman's storyline, Superman is shown to have been brought back to life through the same Matrix chamber that brought him to Earth after a period of extreme stasis. He's sporting a Kryptonian-era black bodysuit with silver insignia and longer hair, which would later become known as the Super Mullet. Coming to Justice League Part 1.
God, I hope so.
And that was as much as I could garner of the connections between this film and source material.
I'm sorry, all I can think of when you said Garner was then Affleck freaking out, "Why'd you say that name?"
Alimony? What alimony?
They're divorced.
Credits.
And if you'd like this, please check out the podcast at the Pulp Podcast Network at pulppodcastnetwork.wordpress.com. If you like us talking about comic books, remember to check out graphic novelism specifically, which is at graphicnovelism.blogspot.com, where you can find links to iTunes and Stitcher. And another comic book show, the Supergirl Power Hour. You can find all about the crazy madness of Silver Age Supergirl comics at supergirlpowerhour.blogspot.com.
Featuring our own James Lewis paired up with newcomer Corinne McCreary and the weirdest impression of Streaky the Supercat you will ever hear.
But it is glorious. As for this show, remember to subscribe and rate us on iTunes and on Stitcher. And follow along with us, facebook.com/boxofficepulp.
That's a wrap, everybody. Get the hell out of here.
And like that.
Don't touch that dial, folks. This is James of Box Office Pulp fame. I'm here with Mike.
E.
And Meebs. Also known as empty.
I will only respond to my given name, not my slave name.
Jesse?
Master Bruce. But we're recording this a couple of days after the Dawn of Justice Box Office Pulp episode, which I unfortunately couldn't be a part of because I hadn't seen it yet. But I watched the movie a few hours ago, and I want to give my 2 cents. Now, the guys have already covered pretty much everything there is to cover, so I just want to add my own unique viewpoint to this. So my contribution is going to be, in lieu of actually reviewing the movie, here is James's Top 22 Funniest Moments about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, I'm not going to talk about Lois Lane, you were right about her, because there are many moments in this movie that have already been memed to death. So I'm gonna pick out some diamonds in the rough here. Number 1, little Bruce Wayne falling into that cave and slowly hovering above the ground. Just because for a minute it looks like Bruce broke his neck and is now ascending to heaven with his beloved bats, ferrying his soul away like the Crow. This is just the shortest Batman movie ever. Could you imagine just credits?
That would have ended the madness.
2, the 3 most significant deaths of Batman's life being Thomas and Martha Wayne, Robin, and Jack from Wayne Financing.
You have no idea how much tax evasion Bruce was able to get away with thanks to Jack.
Jack,
Well,
no!
Unfortunately, what you didn't see in the movie was that was Jack Ryder, who would later become the Creeper.
His origin.
You were on the path to reforming yourself.
Number 3, 18 months ago, Metropolis meets the Superman. Cut to Ben Affleck getting out of a helicopter. Yeah, baby. Na-na-na, na-na-na.
I want the future Ben Affleck life documentary in like 30 years to start the same way.
Somebody needs to edit the cut of months ago, blah, 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 we met Superman, and then smash cut to Ben Affleck as George Reeves as Superman.
Being sad.
Yes.
Just doing karate in his front yard.
Yes. Because there's a
4.
scene where he, bursts through a fake prop set to meet kids and pose as Superman, putting his hands on his hips.
And meets a sinister Bob Hoskins. Number 4. Seeing that ship crash into the world engine and realizing that I was watching a ground level view of Christopher Maloney dying historic. Oh.
A good death is his own reward.
Number 5. Superman apparently watching a platoon of soldiers die so he can have a really cool entrance to save the woman he's been stalking. Because that's the only way that sequence of events makes sense. Number 6, and this is my personal favorite of the entire movie. Lex Luthor ushering in the body of General Zod sinisterly, which is then jarringly smash cut to Bruce Wayne in a tuxedo watching an underground bum fight. That happened. I stood up and walked to the bathroom, picking that moment because I never wanted to know what the hell Bruce was actually doing there. Because it just looks like he's watching one of the Mandingo fights from Evil and Jane. Like a dude looks at him pleadingly and he just pushes him back into the ring. Come on, I got money on this fight.
Okay, what I want to know is, what did you come back to?
I don't remember. This movie's kind of a mess, MB. 7. A legless man climbing a Superman statue, being shot as though he's climbing Mount Everest.
And everyone being helpless to get that man down.
Number 8. The dramatic build-up to Superman addressing the Senate with the big, swelling score fading out as Superman walks in wearing an outfit that just looks bedazzled in that lighting. Number 9. Holly Hunter being rendered mute by a jar of piss she did not notice until Superman walked in.
Which kind of implies Superman used his super speed to piss in a jar and then place it there and then go back to the other side of the room.
It's Grandma's peach tea, ma'am. 10. And this is one that made me laugh audibly in the theater. A man in a shiny science wheelchair staring blankly forward, and then suddenly his ass explodes. Just a long, lingering shot on that dude, staring blankly, then...
Oh, God. And it's a legless man at the...
11.
Who a scene ago said, "This is what war looks like."
Can we edit in Darkman flying through the air?
It's Holly Hunter. 11. Superman standing in said explosion, shaking his head while engulfed in flames, helping no one.
Well, that's just sad. That's not hilarious.
12. This is my second favorite. Lex Luthor caressing General Zod's face while crying. The ultimate, how did this get made moment. Seriously, very soon, Paul Shearer and June Diane Raphael will describe that scene and say, "What?"
And Jason Mantzoukas will laugh hysterically.
This is bonkers.
Michael Shannon is so beautiful.
13. Bruce sending Diana a link with the text, "Boys share too." Cut to her looking horrified.
Oh God, is he hitting on me? I've heard about him and his boys.
Number 14. Aquaman showing up for 20 seconds to look confused.
And hold his breath.
Number 15. Cyborg showing up for 20 seconds to scream and be in agony on his deathbed.
I'm Cyborg, it hurts to live.
He has officially done all of the cyborg things.
16. The file decryption montage randomly cutting to Ben Affleck hitting a tire with a hammer while shirtless. Number 17, Lego Batman, dragging Superman around a dilapidated building with an epic score. Number 18, Batman deciding to save Superman after realizing that Clark does, in fact, have a mother.
I feel like it should be an extra addendum to that. He realizes this 30 seconds after talking about Clark's parents. Feel like throw that in there for extra hilarity.
19. Batman's chief tactic during the Doomsday fight being getting the fuck out of there.
Oh!
Seriously, that's all he does. He sees Doomsday, he Batmans away, hits a building that continues to Batman away, then gets dragged back down.
I cannot Batman away fast enough.
Also,
I'm just a mortal man.
Also, did not add this to the list because I forgot, but bonus point, the establishment of Doomsday has gone to Stryker's Island. It's uninhabited. Cutting to, I've got to get him back to Gotham City. Because Batman has to kill as many people as possible. See, I think that's why Batman understood Superman at the end, as he knows what it's like to destroy his city to take down General Zod. Number 20, the sad realization that this is the second Superman movie in a row to end with Superman murdering General Zod while screaming.
God damn it, Superman, now you're desecrating his corpse. Leave the man alone.
Number 21, Batman magically appearing in Luthor's cell like Pinhead.
Can someone put that music in there, please?
You open the box. I came, buddy boy.
Please, like, someone just have, like, a blackout screen before that, and he just hear, what is your pleasure, sir?
Don't we kind of get that?
Yeah.
And finally, number 22. The foreshadowing of Superman's return being him about to fuck up that casket.
Can I add in a little extra tidbit to that? I don't remember if I brought this up in any of these episodes, but that is just the ending to the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie.
Yes. But seriously, the fucking pebbles are lifting up the thing that Superman does before he destroy flies. That's their moment of hope. Oh boy, Superman will live to destroy again.
He's going to pop out of that thing, fly into Earth's orbit with a mullet and a black costume inexplicably.
And a cyber gun. Batman gave it to his corpse. I want you to have this. In case you see any ghosts. And then Alfred just takes a drink because Bruce has gone fucking insane.
I like how your version of Affleck's Batman is just him slowly turning into Adam West.
I mean, are we wrong?
Some days, you just can't get rid of a bomb.
And on that note, I have been James.
I've been Mike.
I have been done with this movie.
And this has been the top 22 plus 1 funniest moments of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Dun, 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 dun.
And scene.
He's gone.
Tell Box Office Pulp, do you bleed? If you do, you're old enough for Box Office Pulp.
Box Office Pulp got shot in the face and lost all his pearls.
Box Office Pulp once had a gun cannon strapped to his arm. Box Office Pulp was reanimated from the dead as a Black Lantern and recreated that gun cannon. Box Office Pulp is kind of weird.
Box Office Pulp wishes he was Scoots. I don't know if I like Scoots or Scoot more. I think Scoot.
Scoot is funnier.
Scoot is funnier, yeah.
I just like how I just turned Box Office Pulp guy into a monster there.
Well, he always has been.
Yeah.
Box Office Pulp believes that there is even a 1% chance that other podcasts are our enemy. We need to treat them as an absolute certainty, and we have to destroy them.
That's why we have to kill NPR.
This is Box Office Pulp Guy, and this has been a Pulp Podcast production. Now please, 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 put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger and say goodnight.
And now, on with the show.
As we all know, Superman arrived on Earth in a space rocket long ago, when he was Super Baby. The Man of Steel has always thought he was the sole survivor of the tragic catastrophe that destroyed his home world, Krypton. But fate has many strange twists, for this is not an ordinary tale of Superman, but the launching of a new member of our super family. So, without further ado, we take pride in introducing...
Great guns! I seem to see a youngster flying, dressed in a super costume. It must be an illusion.
Look again, Superman. It's me, Supergirl, and I'm real. The Supergirl Power Hour, a monthly look at the Maid of Might.
There are a lot of issues that plague the
Greetings and salutations, kiddos. It's me, your old goblin in crime, Roderick Kingsley, here with a special message for you, my adoring public. You may have noticed lately in my many appearances that I've had a bit of a spring in my pointy-booted step. No, boys and girls, the secret to my success is no wonder drug or miracle diet, but an elixir of the spirit. And, like a Halloween-themed Jehovah's Witness, I'm here to spread the good news like a bombardment of pumpkin bombs. The good news of graphic novelism. But, Uncle Hobgoblin, you ask, what is a graphic novelism? Don't interrupt me, you little shit! But yes, the tenets of graphic novelism are quite simple. A love for the comic book form in all of its forms. A rejection of the complacency that keeps it from reaching further heights. And, most importantly, a refusal to fall into the dark pool of negativity that has strangled the life out of this culture for too long. Since becoming a devout graphic novelist, I've rebuilt my goblin game from the ground up, soaring high above my fears and insecurities, as though they were the skyline of New York City. And all you have to do to walk this path is look deep within yourself and send your credit card number care of Ronnie the OG Hobby at gobmail.com. Or if you want to be a total Norman about it, just listen to the Graphic Novelism Podcast, where Alex Cook, James Lewis, and Mike Napier preach their love for the medium and warn against those that may do it harm. Remember, ladies and gents, if you want to be the hobgoblin of whatever it is that you do, listen to Graphic Novelism. Subscribe to it on iTunes and The Stitcher. Leave a rating and a comment. Give Hobgoblin all of your money. And for God's sake, kill Spider-Man!
another episode.
That was just a little taste of graphic novelism.